In today's video, I want to talk about our recent trip to California. Specifically, I want to go over some of the things that we did out there, as well as list out a few of the other things that you might consider if you're looking to visit California in the near future. This video will primarily be focused in Orange County, although we did spend a day in Los Angeles County towards the end of the video. Also, I'll mostly be talking about things related to the trip, but also we'll throw in a couple of different places that might be worth visiting that I had visited back when I lived there. Without further ado, let's jump into the first day. So we landed in the John Wayne Airport, or the Orange County Airport, around the middle of the afternoon. Since there wasn't a lot of time before the sun went down, we decided to drive over to Anaheim and spend some time in downtown Disney. Now, downtown Disney is the shopping district of Disneyland, and it's free to get in, so that's pretty nice. All you have to do is walk through the security checkpoint, and then you can enter the crowds. There are a bunch of different Disney-themed stores, as well as a Starbucks that we stopped in, a very nice Starbucks, by the way, and a number of different eateries. It was a pleasant way to settle into the city, just walking around, seeing the sights. After downtown Disney, we grabbed some dinner at California Pizza Kitchen, grabbed a couple supplies for the next several days, and went back to the hotel room. The second day, we drove south to Crystal Cove, which I had been to before but was really beautiful this time of year. There had been a bunch of rain the day that we had come into town, and it had completely cleared the skies. All of the smog was gone. You could see Catalina in the distance. Moreover, it was really quiet, I think probably because of the rain, but it made it really nice for us visiting. One thing to note about Crystal Cove is that it's really beautiful, but there aren't a lot of places to eat. So on our way down there, we stopped in Newport at Jan's Juice Bar, picked up a couple things to eat over lunch, as sort of a picnic lunch. I got a turkey avocado wrap, which was delicious, would recommend, would try it again. In the early afternoon, we traveled towards the Irvine Spectrum, which is a shopping center in Irvine, one of the nicest and one of the most fun in the area. It has a Ferris wheel and a merry-go-round, as well as all of the fancy shops for all of your shopping needs or, wants. On our way there, we stopped by the Avocado Cafe, got a couple smoothies, and then at the Irvine Spectrum, the first thing that we did was ride the Ferris wheel. And man, was it beautiful up there. Can't reiterate enough how much the rain changed the landscape of the whole area. I don't think I've ever seen it that green. Nor do I think I've ever been able to see the mountain range in the distance as clearly as we were able to. It's always been kind of shrouded by the smog, except for this trip. Absolutely stunning. After shopping at the Irvine Spectrum for a little while, we stopped at Baja Fish Tacos, which again was delicious. It's really hard to go wrong with food when it comes to Los Angeles. There are just so many places to try. And there's really a pretty broad variety as far as the kinds of food that you might expect. The next day, we started off with some coffee at Stereoscope Coffee in Newport Beach. Stereoscope has 4 locations. Prior to this trip, I had only been to the Buena Park location. It was pretty close to school and was easy to get to between classes, and a nice place to hang out and study. This particular location, the Newport Beach location, had lots of outdoor space. It was built connected to a business building, so just very beautiful inside and out. First day at Stereoscope, I had an Americano. After coffee, we headed further south into Newport to kayak in the bay. We got some kayaks from the Southwind Kayak Center underneath the bridge, the Pacific Coast Highway, and you had the option of either going up further into the harbor or down south towards Balboa. We went up north, which was really nice. We got to see a lot of the houses along the coast, a lot of that architecture that's very similar to East Coast architecture, as well as some really beautiful ships sitting out in the water. It's a very peaceful kayaking experience. The water's very flat, so if you're expecting the ocean, it's not that. It's very peaceful, very enjoyable for people that just want to have a nice day and see some cool boats, some cool houses, and enjoy the weather. After kayaking, we went a little bit up into town to get some donuts at Sidecar Donuts. They're one of the best donuts in the Orange County area. They cost a few bucks each, but they're made fresh daily and pretty regularly throughout the day. They make new batches. So every time you go in, you're likely to get a pretty fresh, pretty nice and soft and delicate, delicious donut. They're really spectacular. But after filling ourselves up with sugar, we felt like, it's time to get some more exercise. So we went back over to Huntington Beach, picked up some bikes, and rode along the coast. We picked up our bikes at Wheel Fun Rentals across from the Hyatt, which is just along the PCH. Pretty chill location. If you go north, you'll go towards the pier. There's not much to see after you get past the pier. So we went south towards Newport and went all the way into Newport, riding around through the neighborhoods. After that, we came back up to Huntington on our bikes, dropped the bikes off, and then went over to Phil's Coffee. Phil's Coffee, again, lots of different locations throughout California. This particular location is next to the Equinox, so if you just go further up the PCH and make a right and another right into that shopping center, it's right over there. We picked up a couple bags of beans and then headed south again into Newport to go to the Balboa Ruby's Diner. We chose this particular location because it's got a really nice view. You sit at the end of the pier, you can see the entire ocean, and in this particular week you could see Balboa, which was extra special. Got to see the sun set, as well as a bunch of fishermen along the outskirts of the dock fishing for various fish, which was a lot of fun. Our burgers were delicious. What more can you say? At this point, I think it's important to note that if you're planning to visit Los Angeles or Orange County, one of the best ways to enjoy your trip is to pick a particular region and do all the stuff in that region per day. What I mean by this is, if you were to blow up a map of Google Maps and take your little mile marker and compare it side by side, you'll notice just how large the LA Orange County area is. Knowing this, the best way to enjoy it is to enjoy it in bites. If you try and visit one location in North LA and one down in the south of Orange County and then one close to Chino Hills and one down by Long Beach, you're running all day long and you really won't get to do much or see much. It's best to pick an area every day and then just spend time in that area. Enjoy it. See all the sights that you can see. Eat all the food that you want to eat. Shop all that you want to shop. It's really up to you. There's plenty to do. But that brings us to day 4, and in day 4 we drove down to Dana Point Beach. Now the beach that we visited was pretty much on a cliff, so we parked in the park, which I will put a picture of down here. But the park sits up top on a large cliff, and between that top of the cliff and the beach there's a bunch of very nice houses. So we hiked down past all these nice houses down to the beach. There were a couple boats out sailing, a couple what might have been porpoise or something of that nature swimming in the ocean, which was pretty cool serendipity. So we walked along the beach there. I got the video that you might have seen a couple weeks ago of the ocean. That's from that beach. After walking around for a little while, we packed up and drove further into Dana Point, drove a little bit through the downtown area, and then arrived at Harpoon Henry's, which is a little restaurant in the harbor area. The setting itself was really nice because it was right up against all those boats. And I'll also say that the tacos that I got were delicious. I got a shrimp and a fish taco, which turned out pretty well. However, I will note that the salads that Mom and Noel got were not as good. Wouldn't recommend those. But I would definitely recommend the fish dishes. Those turned out well. After lunch, we took a trip down to San Clemente, which is a pretty nice beach. I once took a trip down there via the train. And then after the beach, we headed back up the PCH towards Laguna and stopped in Paradiso Gelato. I got an Oreo gelato and a caramel gelato. They had Italian names, but essentially that's what they were. And we drove further up into Newport, where we stopped at Fashion Island, just walked around. It was a pleasant way to end the day. Our 5th day in LA was the big traveling day. That is to say, we spent most of it in Los Angeles County. So we started the day down at Mariners Church in Irvine. They have a really big, beautiful campus. It was Palm Sunday. It was really nice to be among fellow believers then. But after church, we drove up to Drip Coffee in Fullerton. That's one of my favorites from being in school. Another one that was pretty close, easy to get to, nice place to study, but also delicious coffee. After coffee, we drove over to La Habra, stopped in a Nectar for some acai bowls. It's the same Nectar as we have here in Colorado Springs. just a different branch of it. That was delicious. Then we headed up into Hacienda Heights, drove through the hills there. If you ever want a peaceful drive in Los Angeles, that's the place to do it. There's also some horse trails up there if you own a horse, and I don't know how that would work, but if you were in town for something, there's a bunch of that up there. And not too far from Hacienda Heights is the mall where they filmed the first Back to the Future. A number of years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I was with my roommates at the time. We were walking around inside the mall, and there was a Twin Pines Mall sign out there. So, pretty cool little piece of LA there. In any case, we drove through Hacienda and then jumped on the 60. That is the California 60 freeway. We headed west on the 60 up towards the 5. That's the Interstate 5. Traveling up the 5 past downtown Los Angeles. Downtown Los Angeles, another fun place to be if you are interested in a downtown area. There are some parts that are worth avoiding, but there are also a bunch of different places that are worth eating. I spent many lunches and many dinners after work there, and there was always some good food. In any case, we drove along the 5, past Dodger Stadium and Echo Park off to the left. Can't really see them from the highway, but you can imagine that they're there. And in Echo Park, another fun food place to go, Masa Pizza, if you like Chicago pizza. In any case, we kept driving along the 5, and we got up to Griffith Park, and that's where the Los Angeles Zoo is, up at the top of Griffith Park. We spent the day up there, walking around, seeing the animals. A very enjoyable experience if you like that sort of thing. It's affordable. It's fun to do with groups of people. They have all sorts of animals. They have another carousel. It's just a fun time all around. And if zoos aren't your thing, Griffith Park is pretty huge. It also has the Hollywood sign over there and the Griffith Observatory. And during the summers, they have Shakespeare in the park. So, lots to do up there. Griffith Park in general is great. After the zoo, we headed back down the 5 towards Anaheim. Stopped at Orange Roll and Sushi. We picked up some food, headed back to the hotel room, and enjoyed our last evening in Los Angeles, Orange County. Our final day in LA, picked up some coffee and some food at Stereoscope Coffee. I got one of their burritos, breakfast burritos, which was some eggs, some cheese, some avocado, some pepper, some other spice that I can't quite place, but it all worked out together really well. And it was pretty large, so I imagine you could probably split it between a couple people. I ate what I wanted to, left the rest of it, had another coffee. It was a really nice way to end the trip. I could go on, but I'll end by saying there's plenty to do in LA for everyone. And with that said, that's the end of the video. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video.